Resilience is not something you're born with. It's not a gift. It's not a personality trait reserved for the lucky few who just have it. Resilience is something you build, something you train, like a muscle. And just like building muscle, it happens when you are challenged, when you are uncomfortable, when you're on the edge of giving up, but you decide to take one more step. That's the moment. That's where growth begins. Let me be real with you. Every single person you admire, every person who has succeeded in anything, whether it's business, sports, art, parenting, whatever, it's not because they had it easy. It's because they built resilience. They fell down. They got hit hard. They questioned themselves. And guess what? They got back up. They didn't give up, not because they were stronger than you, but because they made the decision to keep going again and again and again. There's this myth that you either have mental toughness or you don't. That's garbage. You develop mental toughness by doing things that are hard. You gain grit by putting yourself in situations where quitting would be easier, but you don't. And each time you push through, each time you resist the urge to tap out, you build that resilience muscle. That's how you do it. Here's what I know for sure. Your brain is always trying to keep you safe. It's wired for survival, not success. So when things get hard, when the results don't show up immediately, when the criticism rolls in or the failure smacks you in the face, your brain screams, "This is dangerous, retreat, give up." That's when your job begins. That's when you step in with awareness and say, "Thank you for trying to protect me, but I've got this." You push forward anyway. Resilience isn't about pretending it's not hard. It's not about ignoring the struggle. It's about knowing that the struggle is the point. It's the proof that you're on the path to something meaningful. And that's what most people don't understand. They think that if it's hard, it means something's wrong. No. Hard means you're growing. Hard means you're learning. Hard means you're doing something that matters. You want to know how to become the kind of person who never gives up? Start doing one hard thing every single day. Start building tiny habits of persistence. Wake up and go to the gym even when you're tired. Make that uncomfortable phone call. Show up for your goals even when you don't feel like it. Because it's not about doing massive things once. It's about doing small, courageous things consistently. And let me be clear, resilience doesn't mean you never cry. It doesn't mean you don't feel discouraged. It doesn't mean you don't take a break when you need one. Resilience means that no matter how many times you fall, you always find a way to stand back up. You recommit, you remind yourself why you started, and then you take another step forward. Every time you decide not to quit, you're reinforcing a new identity. You're telling yourself, "I'm the kind of person who follows through. I'm the kind of person who keeps showing up." That identity, that's power. That's where your confidence comes from. Not from the results, not from the applause, but from the fact that you kept going when you could have stopped. So if you're in a season right now where things feel hard, where it feels like nothing's working, where you're tired, frustrated, or lost, don't you dare give up. This is the test. This is the part where most people quit. This is where you get to decide who you are. Will you be someone who stops when it's inconvenient? Or will you be someone who builds resilience, who becomes stronger because of this? You already have everything you need to keep going. It's not out there. It's in you. But it gets activated when you choose not to give up. When you choose to trust the process, to bet on yourself, to fight for your future even when there's no guarantee of success. That's how resilience is built. That's how winners are made. And that's how you become unstoppable. One of the most powerful tools you have to never give up is something so simple, most people overlook it. It's the 5-second rule. It's not magic. It's science. And it's how you take control in the exact moment your brain wants to talk you out of doing what needs to be done. Here's how it works. The moment you have an instinct to act on a goal, you count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you move. You take action before your mind has a chance to talk you out of it. Let me explain why this matters. Your brain is designed to protect you. It wants to keep you safe, avoid risk, and stay in your comfort zone. So anytime you feel doubt, fear, or uncertainty, your brain pulls the emergency brake. That's why you don't get out of bed when the alarm rings. That's why you hesitate to make the call, start the project, speak up, or keep going. But here's the truth. Your dreams live outside that comfort zone. And every time you hesitate, you hand over power to fear, doubt, and excuses. So how do you override that mental sabotage? You interrupt it. The 5-second rule gives you just enough time to switch off autopilot and activate the part of your brain that's responsible for decision-making. It puts you back in control. You literally reset your mind. And in that moment, you create momentum. Now, let's talk about why that momentum matters when it comes to never giving up. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel confident. You don't even need to feel motivated. What you need is movement. Movement creates motivation. Action builds confidence. You don't wait to feel like doing the work. You start doing the work, and the feeling catches up later. Think about the moments when you're close to quitting. Maybe you've hit a wall. The results aren't showing up. You're tired, discouraged, overwhelmed. That's when your brain whispers, maybe this isn't for you. That's when the resistance kicks in. And that's the exact moment you need to count. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go. Oh. You don't think, you don't reason, you act it. Send the email, get back up, say yes, move forward. The 5-second rule doesn't make the fear go away. It helps you move through it. It doesn't eliminate self-doubt. It helps you act in spite of it. And that's what separates people who push through from those who give up. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's the habit of acting, even when it's hard. There are going to be days when everything feels like it's working against you. You'll be exhausted. You'll want to pull the covers over your head and hide. You'll want to postpone the hard conversation, delay the decision, ignore the goal. And in those moments, motivation won't save you. What will save you is a simple habit, 5 seconds of courage. This rule can be applied anywhere. Fitness, business, relationships, mental health. You're one decision away from change. And that decision is usually small. It's the decision to start, the decision to keep going, the decision to try again. The 5-second rule isn't about massive leaps. It's about micro decisions that compound into momentum, into strength, into resilience. Let me tell you something really important. You're never going to feel like doing the hard thing. That feeling isn't coming. And if you keep waiting for the right moment, the perfect conditions, the guaranteed outcome, you'll be waiting forever. What you do have is this moment, right now, a chance to choose forward, to choose courage, to choose not to give up. The next time you're staring down a challenge and everything in you wants to quit, remember this tool. 5 seconds. That's all it takes to change your life, to push past fear, to build discipline, to take control. You are always one decision away from a breakthrough, one decision away from progress, one decision away from the life you want. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for someone to save you. Don't wait until you feel ready. Just count. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move. That's how you build the habit of never giving up. One small decision at a time. And those small decisions, they lead to big changes. Most people give up not because they're incapable, but because they're chasing perfection instead of progress. They start with fire in their eyes, but the minute things don't go exactly as planned, they freeze, they quit. And it's not because they're weak. It's because they've been taught that success should be flawless, that every step forward should look beautiful. But that's not real. That's not how growth works. Progress is messy. It's uncomfortable. And sometimes it's invisible for a while. Let's get one thing straight. Perfection is the enemy of progress. It's the voice in your head that says, if it's not perfect, don't do it. It's the reason you delay starting, or worse, you start and then stop because it didn't look the way you imagined. But let me ask you something. What if you just focused on getting 1% better every day? What if your goal wasn't to be perfect, but to keep moving forward, even if it's slow? You see, people don't fail because they lack goals. They fail because they expect to go from 0 to 100 overnight. And when they don't, they internalize that as failure, but it's not failure. It's feedback. It's growth in disguise. And the truth is, the people who succeed aren't doing everything perfectly. They're just doing more of the right things consistently. They stay in motion. They stay committed. You have to stop judging your progress with the wrong metrics. Social media will show you someone's highlight reel and make you think you're falling behind. But real life? It's the work you put in when no one's watching. It's the small steps, the extra rep at the gym, the pages you write that no one reads yet. The discipline of getting up early when it would be easier to hit snooze. That's where winning happens. Here's a hard truth. Sometimes you'll do everything right and still not see results right away. That's when most people quit. But that's also the exact moment when transformation is happening beneath the surface. Think of it like planting a seed. You water it, you give it sunlight, and for days, maybe even weeks, nothing shows up. But that doesn't mean it's not working. The roots are growing, the foundation is forming. And if you keep showing up, eventually, you see growth. Your job isn't to control the outcome. Your job is to control your input, your effort, your attitude, your commitment. When you focus on progress, you give yourself permission to be human. You allow room for mistakes. And mistakes are not signs to stop, they're signs to adjust. You learn, you grow, you improve. That's what progress looks like. Think about anything you've ever gotten good at. Riding a bike, learning to drive, speaking in public. You didn't start out being perfect, you started out awkward, maybe even scared. But you kept going. You got better by doing. That same principle applies to every area of your life. Whether it's building a business, creating healthy habits, or healing from pain, it's about consistency, not perfection. And let me be real with you, progress doesn't always feel like progress. Sometimes it feels like failure, like confusion, like taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. But you're still moving, you're still in the game, and that's what matters. Most people quit at the first sign of resistance. Don't be most people. If you can shift your mindset from, I have to get it right, to, I just have to keep going, everything changes. You release the pressure. You make room for growth. You give yourself a chance to succeed. Because success isn't about arriving, it's about evolving. Every time you choose progress over perfection, you're building discipline. You're building character. You're proving to yourself that you can do hard things, that you don't need ideal conditions to move forward. And over time, those small wins compound. They turn into results. And most importantly, they turn into belief. The belief that you can do this, that you're capable, that quitting is no longer an option. So stop waiting for the perfect plan. Stop waiting for everything to align. Take the messy action, or embrace the uncomfortable progress, because that's how you win, not by being flawless, but by being relentless. Keep showing up, keep improving, keep moving forward. That's the real secret to never giving up. You are always one decision away from changing everything. One decision, that's it. Not a perfect plan, not a flawless routine, just a single moment where you choose to move forward instead of giving up. And here's the truth. Those decisions are happening all the time. They don't show up as big, dramatic moments. They show up as tiny forks in the road, every day, every hour, every time you want to quit. You get to decide who you are, and you decide by your actions. Do you get up when the alarm rings, or do you snooze? Do you keep writing the book when no one's reading it yet, or do you walk away? Do you have that hard conversation, or do you avoid it? These moments, they're not small. They're defining. They shape your identity. They shape your life. Most people don't realize this. They think life is shaped by the big things, the job offers, the moves, the breakthroughs. But those big moments, they're built on 1,000 little decisions made when no one was watching. And the most important ones are the decisions you make when you're tired, discouraged, or scared, because that's when giving up feels easiest. That's when it feels justified. And that's exactly when the magic happens, when you choose not to quit anyway. That moment of decision is your power. It's your reset button. You might feel stuck. You might be spiraling. You might think you failed too many times. But the truth is, you're never more than one decision away from changing the trajectory. You can decide to start over. You can decide to recommit. You can decide to fight for yourself again. And no one can take that away from you. We've all been there. Those moments when quitting feels like the only option. You're worn out. You've tried and failed. You've doubted yourself so much that continuing almost feels foolish. But I want you to understand something. That moment right there is where resilience is born. That's the turning point, not the moment you win, but the moment you refuse to walk away when it's hard. You don't need to see the entire path. You just need to take the next step. That's it, the next right decision. Because every time you choose not to give up, you build strength. And every time you give up, you reinforce doubt. So which one do you want to build? Your strength or your excuses? Here's a strategy. When you feel like giving up, ask yourself this: what would the best version of me do right now? The version of you who's already succeeded, who's proud, who's overcome all the things you're facing right now, would that version of you stop, or would they push through? Let your future self guide your present decisions. There's something incredibly powerful about deciding in advance who you're going to be. Not just reacting in the moment, but already knowing your standard, your non-negotiables. That's how you stay grounded when things get hard, because you've already made the decision. I don't quit on myself. I don't give up just because it's hard. I don't lower my standards just because it's uncomfortable. It's not always about motivation. Sometimes it's about making the decision before the feelings come, because they won't always be there. But your values can be, your choices can be, your discipline can be. So when the emotion fades, your commitment stays. Never underestimate the power of a single decision. The decision to keep going, the decision to believe in yourself again, the decision to stop listening to that inner critic and start acting like the person you want to become. That's how momentum is built. That's how transformation happens. It's not one giant leap. It's thousands of small, courageous choices. And yes, it will be hard. You will want to quit again. But now you know the truth. You don't have to feel strong to act strong. You don't have to feel brave to take brave action. You just have to undecide. One moment at a time. Again and again. Until one day you look back and realize you didn't give up. You became who you were always meant to be. All because you made one decision, then another, and that's how it's done. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. It's the path you walk on to become stronger, wiser, and more capable. But most people never see it that way. They treat failure like it's final, like it means they're not good enough, or that the dream wasn't meant for them. So they give up. They walk away right before the breakthrough. And it's not because they didn't have what it takes. It's because they didn't understand that failure is a teacher, not a dead end. Look around at anyone who's built something great. An athlete, an entrepreneur, a creator, a leader. Every single one of them has failed more times than they can count. But they didn't let that failure define them. They used it, they studied it, they asked, what can I learn from this? And then they got back up with more clarity and more determination. That's the difference. When you fail, you are collecting data. You're learning what doesn't work. You're learning how to adapt, how to pivot, how to be more strategic. But if you take that failure personally, if you see it as proof that you're not good enough, you'll never get to the real lesson. You'll stop yourself before you even begin again. And that's the real failure. Not falling down, but staying down. You've got to shift your perspective. Failure is not something to fear. It's something to embrace. It's a necessary part of growth. It's how you build resilience. Because resilience doesn't come from winning. It comes from losing and refusing to quit. It comes from hearing no and deciding that it doesn't mean never. It just means not yet. Think about a baby learning to walk. They fall constantly. But do they give up? Do they decide they're not meant to walk? Of course not. They get up and try again, and again, and again. Because failing is how they learn to balance, how they build muscle, how they figure it out. That process never changes. It just looks different when we grow up. We just forget how normal and essential failure is. Your fear of failure is probably rooted in shame. You don't want to look stupid. You don't want to disappoint people. You don't want to prove your doubts right. But here's what you have to understand. Failure doesn't mean something about your worth. It means something about your strategy. And strategies can be changed, adjusted, refined. That's the power you have. If you want to build something meaningful, if you want to pursue your goals and actually see them through, you have to be willing to fail, not once, but many times, and still keep going. Because every failure is progress. Every failure is a stepping stone. You're not starting over each time. You're starting from experience. And guess what? The more you fail, the less it scares you. Because you start to realize, I can survive this. I can learn from this. I'm still standing. And that's where your confidence comes from. Not from pretending to be perfect, but from knowing that you're unstoppable even when you fall. The people who succeed aren't the ones who never got knocked down. They're the ones who got back up one more time than they fell. That's it. That's the secret. Keep getting back up. Learn, adapt, grow. But don't ever make the mistake of thinking that failure is a sign to give up. It's a sign you're trying. It's a sign you're in the game. It's a sign that you're doing the work most people are too afraid to do. So the next time you fail, and you will, don't retreat. Don't shrink. Don't beat yourself up. Step back, take a breath, ask, what is this here to teach me? And then get back in it with more fire, more clarity, and more grit. That's how success is built. Not in a straight line, but in a zigzag of effort, correction, and relentless persistence. Remember this, the only way to truly fail is to give up. Everything else is just part of the process. So keep going, keep falling, keep learning, because as long as you're still moving, you are not failing, you are becoming.